It's officially spring and I have been itching to do some refreshes around my house, especially because last August when we moved in, I went from fall to Halloween to Christmas to winter decor, and now that all that stuff is taken down, I've got some areas to work with. So to do it on a budget, I'm combining my love of thrifting as well as high-end dupes. I'm gonna show you how it all came together and how you can do it too. A huge thank you to June's Journey for sponsoring today's video, and also a huge hello and welcome back to my whiskey craft buddies. You guys know I'm so thankful for you, so glad you're here. If you're new or you're not already a craft buddy, no worries, just hit subscribe down below so you can DIY along with us. Now I thought this video was super fitting in April because it is Earth Month and I'm a big proponent in getting second uses out of things, giving things new life, and just saving them from going in the trash. And I started by making a list so then that way I didn't come home with things that I wasn't going to use or need. I like to do that every time I go to the thrift store. So I went through, scrolled Pottery Barn, West Elm, Kirkland's website to get some inspiration. So I kind of knew the shapes, sizes, and materials I was looking for. My number 2 tip before you head to the thrift store is to do a quick run around your house. I gather up a lot of different things that I am no longer using. That way you are not bringing in more clutter because that just overwhelms me. So now that we've got a game plan, we've got our donations boxed up, let's head to the thrift store and let's get hunting. First up, we're gonna grab a cart. I always love to do this because you can take the items you're thinking about, think of it as a purgatory while you walk around the store, and then that way it won't get swooped up from underneath you. I also have to keep in mind that not everything has to be a project. You can find some awesome finds at Goodwill that you just need to clean and put out. Number 1 on my list was some pretty hardcover books because they are a staple in the modern organic style. So I went straight to the book section and I was looking for hardcover books that once you took the book jacket off, it had a pretty spine. I also wanted some that spoke to me or our life or where we live, so I got some from Chicago, some like top women. I also found this fun one that is the Connoisseur's Guide to Antique Collecting. I also found a really cool Christmas one, which I don't need now, but just FYI, keep your eyes peeled for holiday year around. Then all you have to do is get them home, remove the book jacket, and they are ready to go. I like to stack them in groupings of similar sizes. You can also group similar colors, and I chose to incorporate blue as well as neutrals into the stack. Item number 2 was this urn-shaped lamp. Pottery Barn wanted $400 and I knew I could dupe it. So I found this really fun pink one that was a perfect urn size for $7.99. So I brought it home and gave it a really good clean with some disinfectant spray just so that I was working with a clean surface. Then before I added anything, I taped off the top electrical as well as the bottom cord just so I didn't get any paint or anything icky on it. Then I used plaster of Paris, the dry mix, and I did 2 parts mixed to 1 part water, and I kind of had to finesse it a little bit until you get like a thick pancake batter consistency. This is what is going to give it our terracotta stone found look. I'm using gloves and I just schlepped it, like no rhyme or reason, just put it on the side. I did make sure to concentrate some into those little grooves so we take it from 80s to more trendy now. And you can also do this with a lamp that you have at home. You don't have to thrift it, so that's another great thing. Definitely shop your house if you have any of these items. Once everything was applied, you've got about 6 to 10 minutes to work with it, so I let it set for about 3, and then I'm using the gloves again, but with some water on my hand to rub down and get rid of any like big holes or big like clumps of it to kind of make it look more like it was thrown pottery. Once that was fully dry, I grabbed some of this sandstone chalk paint and I added some coffee grounds from my K-cup there, mixed it up, and then I painted that on. What the coffee grounds do is give it additional texture that's different than the plaster of Paris texture. I painted the entire thing, and then while it was still wet, I added a little bit of the coffee grounds to the outside to stick to the wet paint. And then I also wanted to add a little bit of dimension. So I went in with Territorial Beige, which is just a kind of medium brown, and I'm blending it into the wet paint. This is key, so you're going to want to work fast between the coffee grounds and this. But I'm just using that foam brush, mixing it in, and if it got too dark on me, I just used my sandstone paintbrush to blend it in. I continued to do it until it was the look that I wanted, and then I let it fully dry. And then my last step was to go outside with this polyurethane sealant. You could also use clear spray paint if that's what you have, but I wanted to make sure it was sealed so it didn't chip off. You guys, this looks awesome. It is a really fun lamp. I love the different textures, and honestly, you would not guess that it was that pink one from the thrift store. I just finished it off with a new shade from Target, which I will link down below. One of my favorite parts about thrifting is that it's just like a giant scavenger hunt, and if you love a good thrift find, you will also like this new mobile game I've been playing called June's Journey. It's a free mystery game set in the 1920s where you follow June Parker, hence the name June's Journey, to find mystery objects and help solve her sister's untimely death. Now, I'm not a big game player, but when I do play, I love ones with a story, and this one has sucked me in. I want to know what happens so bad, so I keep playing. I enjoy searching the different scenes for vintage finds, both under and behind things, just like at the thrift store, and that's to win clues and rewards, which I can redeem to fix up a glamorous mansion and island. Taking some dedicated me time to play fun games like June's Journey is one of the ways that I've liked to decompress lately, to step away from the craziness of everyday life and get past my creative blocks. June's Journey is also part of the Green Game Jam from May 31st to June 7th this year, and during that time you can play 3 limited time events to collect specific animal themed rewards. And if enough players do that, Wooga, the game's developer, will donate $100,000 to organizations that help support the Himalayan ecosystem to bring positive impact to the planet. To download the free June's Journey app, head down to the description and click the link there, or use your device's camera to scan this QR code. You can play on your iOS or Android device, as well as on a computer via Facebook Games. I recently found myself in Target in the Magnolia Hearth and Hand section, and I found this beautiful candle, but not for 40 bucks. So I decided to find a stone vessel, and this one was perfect. It was $6. It was as is because there was a little chip, but I was fine with it because it was cosmetic, not structural. Then I had these wicks for candle making in my stash, so I added 6 of them to mimic the Target one with some hot glue. Once that cooled, I took a Pyrex that I use specifically for wax, so don't put this on your regular Pyrex. I just used some little soy wax pieces that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I created a double boiler. Now you want to be super careful, stirring as you go. I just use a wood stick so I don't ruin any spoons or put any plastic in there. And then you can carefully pour in as many times as you want over your wicks, and I'm just using some very official reusable straws and my scissors to make everything stand up for me. But then I just let it cure overnight, and this looks just like the Target one for a fraction of the cost. You could also melt down Dollar Tree pillar candles, and personally, I am using this just for decor, so I'm not planning on having an open flame in the container just because I don't know like what the structure is. It was fine with the warm wax, but I don't want to chance it. Same with this wood one. I did the same thing with a wood bowl, so it worked fine with the wax, but I am not going to light these, but they're beautiful for decor. And I also finished off this little vignette with a little bead strand I got from Dollar Tree to add some texture. In the same category, I was also looking for candlesticks. Now I ended up finding this brass one, and so I decided to use that for my project, but if you like brass, you could leave it as it is. And then I also saw this one, but I knew with the screw at the top that I should be able to remove the top, and sure enough, when I got home, I just unscrewed it and I had the size and shape that I wanted. After giving all of them a really good wash and grabbing 2 from my basement that I wanted to repurpose, I just put them on my Lazy Susan in my little spray paint tent and spray painted them a matte black. And these look so great on top of those book stacks that I talked about earlier, and they're great to add to any vignette to add that modern style. When I share my thrift projects, I get a lot of questions on how do I clean the items that I get. So for the most part, I clean things with warm water, soap, and vinegar, and the warm water also helps get any residue from the stickers off. So that's the process where I take all the tags and stickers off, and then I put it in the warm water. Now, say you've got something like a basket that you can't put in the water. I like to use an aerosol spray. I like this one by Lysol. It is a disinfectant, so I take it outside, I spray the entire thing, and then I just let it dry outside, and that's going to kill a lot of the germs that come on any of those. Now these baskets are one of the things that definitely didn't need to be DIY'd. Once I cleaned them, I just added some beautiful blooms to this hyacinth basket, and it looks awesome. It's just draped over the side, and it looks really effortless and really pretty. It can be on its own or in a grouping. Now for this rattan tray, I set it up on the table, and then I added a mixture of books, a candle, different vases, and you can kind of mix and match. I like to group things in odd numbers, but easy peasy, put everything together, and you didn't have to DIY the tray, just put it down and style it. Something else I wanted were some wood frames in different textures, and I like to thrift these because it's like the old adage, they don't make things like they used to. They usually don't make real wood things. So I found this beautiful one at the thrift store that I went to, and I decided to just remove the back. It was just like stapled prongs. I popped everything out and realized it was just a nice matted print. Once I got it out, I cleaned the entire frame. And then I also did the cleaning process with a bunch of other frames I found. I just was going for a wide variety of wood tones, and if I saw things in a set, I grabbed those as well. When it comes to frames, I like to look in the picture frames as well as the artwork, because you could always take something like this and remove the back like I'll show you here in a second. Some of my frames were traditional. I just removed the prongs and popped everything out. I also had some artwork pieces like this, so I just took a flathead screwdriver, you could use scissors too, scored the paper on the back, and then popped up the little staples so that I could get everything out. I measured so I knew what sizes I needed of all of my printables, and then I went upstairs and printed a variety of different things. Now for the large frame, I did a poster print through Adobe, just so then that way it would be larger than the sheet of paper that I have. So those are the 4 pieces you see in the center. But then I also incorporated some muted tones of Chicago as well as our family, so I have a personal touch in there as well. I use my Fisker slide cut to do this, and this thing is awesome. I haven't had a slide cut that I've liked this much, so just FYI, I will link it down below. Then it was just as easy as putting them all in the frames, replacing the backing, and those smaller ones were done. Then for the larger one, I just needed to use some double-sided tape, and I used this Bay Bridge picture as a guide. I laid everything out and then used my double stick tape to stick it together. Now in the print options in the Adobe Acrobat where I printed this PDF, I was able to select that I wanted about a 1/2 inch overhang, and that helped so I didn't have to go edge to edge. I could do a little overlap. And once I got it in the frame, you couldn't tell that it was 4 pieces, especially because I'm gonna have it up on a shelf. The last step before I put it back in the frame was to make sure the edges were stuck down, and then I stuck the big white poster to the mat just so it wouldn't move around on me. And then I used these wide variety of frames on our new floating shelf that I have in our dining room. Now because of what I bought, I was able to do it kind of symmetrical, but I love that it's got a variety of kind of this old world feel artwork as well as some of our pictures, but it all kind of goes together and all of the woods coordinate. So what happens if you want to make a lamp, but you can't find an actual lamp, but you can find a vase the right shape? Well, that's what happened to me before I found that other lamp, and I'm going to show you how I turned this vase into a lamp with no wiring required. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to need some sort of wood piece or plastic piece that you can stick on the top of your vase. I liked this one because the grooves were on the inside, so I knew once I painted it I wasn't going to have an issue. I used a mixture of hot glue and super glue to stick it on the top, and then I mixed a little bit of baking soda with some elephant chalk paint and I painted the entire thing. Now the baking soda usually gives me a thicker texture, so I don't know if it was my fault with the mixture. Probably was. I'll take one for the team there. But I ended up finding a better solution, and I'm so glad I did. So it was kind of a happy accident. I ended up taking some of this Drydex spackling and applying it with like a Cricut scraper over the top and then letting it fully dry. I did it in a variety of different patterns and angles, and I tried to get it to be as flat as I could, but also keeping the texture. It goes on pink, but then it dries white. So once it was dry, I went outside with a sanding sponge and I got any huge like craters or huge mounds of it down. And then I went back over the top of it with some more of that elephant paint to make it really look like concrete. Once I did that, it was definitely the look I was going for, and then it was time to turn it into a lamp. So I took this little 1x2 scrap that I had laying around, I glued it to that wood piece on the top, and then it was time to add the piece de resistance, or my little magic trick. I love these bulbs from Amazon. You get a pack of 4 with a remote, and you can do this with any lamp, but I thought this would be nice because it came with a base, so I didn't have to find anywhere to put the light into. You stick your light onto your lampshade like you would any other one, and then you can stick this 3M pad down to the piece of wood.
Then I've got this beautiful textured lampshade that I got for 10 bucks from Target. And then I can turn this thing on or off with the touch of a remote. I love the mixture of the concrete as well as this rattan lampshade. And this is so nice in our dining room where I don't really have an outlet near it, but then I can turn it on at night and we've got light in that room if Finn wants to be in there. Another huge staple in the modern organic style are found or artisan style looking vases or vessels. And so there are a ton of different ways that I've seen people do this. So here are a couple of my tried and true methods that I like how they turned out on a variety of these thrifted vessels.
The main questions I get asked is, in Illinois, how am I spray painting before it's like warm outside? Well, it was supposed to be warmer today, but it ended up raining and the temperature dropped. So I, as you can see, am in my garage. What I do is I have this little pop-up work table and I have this area right by the back door that I put it in here. I can vent my garage door, which is on the other side of the camera. So here is my pop-up tent. It's on top of just this little like workbench here. And I have everything facing the wall. Then I can put my item back in here, and I have it on a Lazy Susan. It just has marks from my last spray paint project. But I can spin it around, which is really helpful to get all of the different angles of things. And then I've got my spray paint that I'm gonna prime this with. So we're gonna start this vase with one coat of black. And the nice thing is this covers all of it, especially if you push it back in there. I don't really have any much kickback because you don't have to worry about like wind or anything, which is super helpful. So you want to make sure that it's ventilated. So I'm going to crack my garage door to make sure there's air moving around in here. But this is how I'm able to get some stuff done in my garage out of the elements.
So this one was as easy as spraying a black base coat. Then I brought it in and I did the same treatment with the plaster of Paris because I had some left over from my lamp. I just made sure to coat the entire thing. And then I painted it a dark gray. This is elephant chalk paint. I didn't worry about getting into any of the crevices because once I was done and that was dry, then I made kind of a like black wash water mixture. So similar how you would do with a whitewash. And I went over the top of those crevices with it and then I wiped it away. So then it kind of had like a black undertone because the black spray paint underneath wasn't shining through as much as I wanted it to. But once I did that to the entire vase, it looked beautiful. And then I just added some of these Michael's blooms that I recently got, and these are beautiful. I love that they add a little bit of color, but they aren't too bright. They definitely fit the style, and I love how this turned out. The next makeover is going to be with this vase that I found for $5. I absolutely love the shape, and I started by spraying both sides with a light coat of the stone textured finish. I've been doing this style and makeover for years, and it is tried and true. It will not fail. Give yourself some good coats on either side, let it dry, and then cover it with the color of your choice. You could do a taupe, you could do a brown, you could do a gray. I decided to do a matte black here, and once that is dry, just add some eucalyptus, and this thing is beautiful. I wanted a nice tall vase, and this one was hiding next to a rack, so I was really excited to find it. I gave this one the plaster of Paris treatment as well because once that lamp turned out so great, I was like so excited to do it on a bunch of different things. On this one, I made sure that there were some peek-through areas so that it really looked like found and chipped and worn. Then I mixed some of that sandstone paint from before with a little bit of the territorial beige, so the two colors from the lamp. And then I also mixed in some coffee grounds to give that texture here, and I painted the entire thing. Now, even with it covered, I love how it had the little specks in it. You could also use salt for this. I've seen other people do. I haven't personally done it, but you could use like coarse salt. Then when it was dry, I gave that a sealant coat, and this thing is beautiful as well. To finish it off, I added some olive branches I recently grabbed from Hobby Lobby, and this is a perfect height. I love, love, love this. This picture also got the plaster of Paris treatment. I feel like that should be the hashtag for this video, but I covered the entire thing and then I ended up painting this one black. Easy peasy, looks great with eucalyptus, and I love how this vignette turned out.
That's gonna do it for today's video. You have to let me know down in the comments what was your favorite project and if you plan to recreate any of these. I love going thrifting and I love sharing my projects with you guys because I try to find items that you can find at a variety of different places secondhand. You could also shop your house for these as well. A huge thank you to June's Journey for sponsoring today's video. To download and play along with me, all the information you'll need will be down in the description box. Thanks so much for watching. Hit subscribe if you're new so you don't miss a future video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!